I'm not exactly going to say I was nervous walking into this interview with Lucia Rahilly at McKinsey Co. But this was a really big one for us, and she's a really experienced interviewer, writer, researcher, manager, and more, and she's definitely one of the leaders in thought leadership. But what you're going to hear is just a really great half hour, someone who really gets what good looks like, or great looks like. I really felt like I learned a lot in this really engaging piece about her personally. She talks about working with the wider firm, the culture of openness and collaborating on content. She's a techno-optimist. Obviously, we get into AI, including standing out in a world of slop and GEO, etc. And what works in terms of proving this is all worth it, the whole ROI metrics side, including a new word I heard, anecdata, so look out for that. And, we heard about action bias, flow bear, all kinds of stuff. So without much further ado, it's time to get to the interview.
And now, as part of Collective Content's SenseMaker Session podcast, today's content leader is Lucia Rahilly, Global Editorial Director and Deputy Publisher of McKinsey Company. With thanks to our sponsor, Highbeam Global, a global full-service market research firm. Today's episode was filmed October 2025 in Gotham Studios, New York City.
So today I am so glad to be joined by Lucia Rahilly from McKinsey Co. Part of our SenseMaker series. I can't think of anyone better to have here to make sense of a whole load of things. And first of all, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so privileged to be here with you.
Thank you. I mean, part of what we do with this series is we want to find out who you are as well as what you do in your job and the bigger McKinsey goals and techniques. Tell us about your career journey. So you're someone who has been in the same company for many years. I know not always doing the same thing. What have the last 20 years looked like at McKinsey?
So I have been at McKinsey for 21 years this summer, which is something that a tenure that I never expected. I stayed at McKinsey for such a long time for, I would say, a few reasons. Mm-hmm. One is that McKinsey is possibly the greatest place, or one of a handful of really great places to actually engage in this kind of research-driven publishing. And a big part of that is that what we traffic in are insights that CEOs can really use in order to take advantage of opportunities in the market and navigate risks. And in order to have those insights, McKinsey's got to invest upstream in research across the full range of industries, of functional capabilities, and geographies. And that gives us really the raw material, the fodder that we can use to transform these insights into really substantive and strong thought leadership across a range of formats. So it's a great place to work for that reason.
I'm hearing that loud and clear. We're going to absolutely drill down on some of those other ways that you work and why that's great. One thing that is really apparent, I feel like I should mention early in this interview, is that you're quite public face for McKinsey and for this passionate and evangelical even about this thought leadership and research. Do you think like that's a natural part of the role? Because surely there are peers of yours out there doing a great job as well who are maybe not as public or not as comfortable doing that.
Right. Well, I think generally speaking, thought leadership might not be a field that attracts folks who are all singing, all dancing, right? The percentage of Bob Fosse wannabes who want to go around doing jazz hands is probably not high in this particular field, just because it's a field that involves a lot of reading. Right. And temperamentally speaking, those two things might not go together for everyone. But I think there's actually something else which is at play, And that is that, 10 years ago, for example, there weren't that many of us in this field.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it really, not to keep the kind of stage metaphor going, but there really weren't enough of us to cast a spotlight on at any kind of meaningful scale. And the audience for folks like us, our job is really to make other people look good,
right.
to make subject matter experts look good. So it might not have been as relevant. Now, of course, the proliferation of content with digital disruption that will only accelerate with AI, presumably, means that there are more of us, and also that what we do is relevant to many more of us as the field expands.
Yeah.
I think that's why you see now more of us coming out and talking publicly about what it is that we do, because there's actually an audience for the discipline now in a way there may not have been in years past.
Okay, I know you've spoken before a lot about unique content, and you said to us a moment ago about you have your currency is ideas, and so you have to be strong. How do you ensure that you get like that, ideally unique, not always unique, but just certainly meaningful content that drives action and engages people properly? It's the hardest thing in the world, isn't it? It's to make that work.
It is really hard. I think there's a strong legacy of thought leadership at McKinsey. The McKinsey Quarterly just finished a year-long celebration of our 60th birthday. So we've been at this for a long time, and I think there's a broad appreciation for distinctive content. Often the ideas come to us at a pretty high bar, and when they could be improved, authors are relatively open, my sense is, versus in some other contexts.
And that's part of the culture.
It's part
right.
of the culture.
Okay.
We look at distinctive content as falling into roughly 3 categories. We have 3 broad criteria for distinctive content. First, is it novel? Does it bring a net new angle, a net new perspective into the discourse of ideas? Second, obviously, is it valid? Can it be substantiated with a new set of proprietary data, with examples from client work, and so forth? And third, is it useful? Can clients actually put it into action in ways that will advance their priorities and their agenda? So we are pretty good about collaborating with stakeholders who are interested in authoring pieces to really make sure that their ideas meet that bar. And if they don't, to redirect them and give constructive suggestions about how they might.
Okay. And I want to move us on to a really big question, is where are we with AI in thought leadership?
Yeah, well, this is the question du jour, isn't it? So I think AI is one of the most consequential disruptions that we've seen, at least in the 21 years that I've been.
It doesn't always mean it's good.
All right.
But like good, bad, like, but both sides, where do you think we are?
Yeah, so I think generally I am a techno optimist, and I love playing with AI. For me, it's been incredibly useful.
Yeah.
I have a lot of fun with it. Just a couple of nights ago, my kids and I were playing with Sora, the new text to video app that OpenAI has released. And, we put in a prompt, 2 dogs playing instruments. And seconds later, there was a pug playing the piano and an Italian Spinoni playing the cello. And it was like marvelous, right? It was astonishing. It was hilarious. It was jaw-dropping. It's not necessarily relevant to what we do,
right.
But I do think that it could yield a lot of creative formats that we haven't even seen yet, right? Like it's going to enable a much less resource-intensive development of content across a diversity of multimedia formats than we've ever seen before.
And not everyone picks up on that idea of the creativity and the novel things that maybe you don't know it till you see it, and then you can develop it into something meaningful for you.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you think about the potential or the current even uses at McKinsey, are you thinking it's more in research, in general creativity, in the content production, in getting it in front of the right people, or all of those?
It's all of those things.
Yeah.
So like many places, we're undertaking an exercise to rewire our publishing value chain from end to end. Right. So to see how AI will change each stage of the publishing process, from research to ideation and through to publication and dissemination. And then after that, to, as we were just talking about, spinning off these kinds of derivative assets. So it's a really interesting moment, I think, for what we do. So everybody's using AI to see where they can accelerate movement through the chain. And that's a really good thing to me, because the world is changing quickly and business problems are emerging quickly, and opportunities are also emerging with those. So the faster we can get good ideas to market, obviously, the better. I think another, though, really interesting development that could come with AI is the advent of agentic AI, and the way that agentic could actually transform content consumption, right? So it is possible that in the future, instead of an executive reading a piece of content, there will be a kind of call my agent situation,
right?
In which an executive's agent is talking to McKinsey's agent about what we have to say about whatever topic is on his mind,
right?
And then comparing what we have to say with what our competitors have to say, in a way that's, a dialogue,
right?
Versus going, searching, finding, et cetera, right? As his agent is talking to our agent, he's gathering that information in that way versus reading a full article. So, this could really transform the way that we think about creating content, the way that we think about presenting content, and the way that the tools that we use to make our ideas and our research available to our audiences.
So it's definitely more than filtering. There's an element of combining and comparing and making sure the most relevant information comes through to that executive who's looking for something, or their agent is. That's really interesting. Some of this is really it's very, very positive. Is there any particular areas that your biggest fear or worry? Like what could go wrong from your point of view?
You mean like a cyberpunk dystopia?
Well, maybe
I report to a robot overlord. No, I think in our field, the challenge that we could very easily face, that's much discussed, is this Cambrian explosion of content that AI could enable. Yeah. We already exist in an extremely fragmented and taxed attentional landscape. Attentional capital is really prized and really rare. Yeah. And if there is a deluge of AI slop, as it seems likely there may be, attracting and holding attention will be harder than ever. So it seems to me in that instance, curation, personalization, there are going to be certain features that will be more important than ever, that will really be imperative to ensure that organizations are able to convey their ideas to their audiences in kind of a clear pathway.
And so big roles for humans still in all that, and that element of taste and judgment. Yeah, exactly. You've spoken to me before about more traffic coming from LLMs and and not from traditional search. And it's that Gen AI engine optimization, the GEO thing that people call it different things, but everyone's been talking about it now for a few months. Exactly, yeah. Is that a must now in thought leadership and broader content space? Do we have to all be allowing for that?
So certainly publishers have taken a bruising hit from the shift in the way that audiences access content, right? We've seen, as most publishers have, a drop in visits that are search referred. But I've been in this business long enough to have seen discussions and participated in discussions about whether search engine optimization was too commercial, right? Do we really want to optimize our content for search? That seems so commercial. Now it's, of course, everyone does it. You have to do it. I think the same thing is happening with GEO, AEO, and LLM visibility. There was some concern, obviously, about this drop-off in traffic and about the absence of attribution in a lot of the LLMs. But as we've seen with the advent of Chat 5 over the summer, this is a really fast-moving space, right? There are links now. Right? It's getting better and better. Yeah. And 6 months from now could look completely different from the way that it looks now. And we've seen a dramatic bump up, actually, in our LLM referred traffic just in the past couple of months. Yeah. So we expect that to continue to change, and we certainly think it's imperative to maximize for visibility in the LLMs.
Okay, interesting. It's sort of a watch this space kind of thing as we're all trying to figure out what matters the most. And we've got some conversations on that one. What does measuring the ROI of content look like at McKinsey?
So not surprisingly, McKinsey is inherently hot on measurement. And we have many ways that we measure. We measure frequently and across a variety of metrics. I think we use very similar metrics to those used elsewhere. So we're looking at visits, we're looking at depth of scroll, time on page, other kinds of engagement. All those are super important. One that I think is particularly important is share voice in tier 1 media, so earned media on the back of our thought leadership. To me, that's an outside-in proxy for quality, so that's an important one, and it's one where we are really rocking. We are really outperforming competitors, so we like it. Otherwise, we are also looking at client impact, which is a little bit trickier to measure. We mostly do that through the operationalized collection of feedback from our authors. So surveying authors on a very regular basis and asking them to produce emails and other forms of documentation.
So this is qualitative input they get from people like prospects and the current contacts. Wow,
we call it anecdata.
Anecdata,
that really links the articles that they've published to either client conversations that have been catalyzed by that content, or ideally after the traditional development time, client engagement.
And there's a real onus on all the subject matter experts, not just partners, but could I say publish or be damned? This kind of unlike certain other companies, that is absolutely part of what they have to do, right? Am I mistaken in saying that?
So historically, it has been.
Okay.
It's less so now because for a variety of reasons. I mean, we're really focusing, because in part of the proliferation of content in the marketplace, we really want to focus attention on our best ideas and take a fewer, bigger, better strategy.
Right.
So there's not the same publish or perish incentive system that there was some years back, but certainly our supply-demand ratio, there's far more demand to publish than you'll see
Okay.
in the marketplace. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So Lucia, as part of this series, one thing we were hoping to do is maybe get a few answers from people to questions they don't normally get asked, and to learn a bit more about the individuals. Mm-hmm. And I know I've heard people say to me that you're like the consummate New Yorker, but I know from the sports stuff that you're not, right? You're originally a New Englander, right? Yeah. So sporting wise, you're the one cheering in the away end when your teams are coming to town. Is that right?
Right. But here I have something to share with you,
okay,
Tony, which is the following. I have so few parenting victories. I mean, precious few. But I have managed, not with my daughter, who's a Philly fan, don't ask, but with my son, to inculcate him in Boston sports fandom. And I was brought up in the era of Bird,
right?
Kevin McHale. As a Brit, do you know these?
We know Larry Bird is.
Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish. The Celtics-Lakers rivalry was like a huge element of Boston pride.
Yeah.
And through a dear friend of ours, we actually were able to attend the final game in Boston at TD Garden, what used to be called the Boston Garden.
Right.
The Celtics series winning championship with my son, and now this is sealed. I feel my parenting duties are over. Yeah. He's like, it was a high point. He will be a Boston fan,
I'm feeling the passion there. Okay.
Also, the Patriots.
Well, I was going to say, it's across every sport, right? You're baseball, football, basketball. Yeah, you're pretty much, okay, okay.
I'm a Boston fan. Yeah,
Let
but we
go
default,
on the record.
we're not, we don't like the Yankees, but but we default to some New York sports,
okay.
If Boston.
Okay. All right.
We're okay with the Mets.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I'm as an
Brooklyn
outsider.
Nets.
What do I know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I wanted to finish just the question you might have heard before. It's across your career, you've done all these different things, and when you started out, it's kind of a version of what would you say to your younger self. So when you just graduate in college, say, what I'm really getting at is could you have predicted how the last few decades have gone, and there's been so much change? What would you say to yourself back then?
So, unfortunately, I was not a person who took a lot of advice from folks who were older than I was at that age. So probably if I were face to face with my younger self, I would not, my younger self would not countenance my counsel to her. But suppose I were talking to a different younger person, I would really say that having a bias to action right now is huge. Sample a variety of professions. Don't think too much. Be bold. Take risks, because we're in this incredible period of disruption. Who knows what jobs are going to look like a decade from now? Don't think through the safest bet. Try a bunch of things, because things are going to look different, and you're going to gain valuable skills and also just knowledge of what works for you and what doesn't. I would never have predicted, as I mentioned earlier, not only that I would be at McKinsey, but that I would stay at a place like McKinsey for such a long period of time. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say is there's a great quote that is Flaubert, and I won't get it exactly, but it has something to do with being orderly and disciplined in your personal life so that you can be violent and original and creative in your professional life.
Wow.
And I think that's another thing. Your professional life is an area to take risks right now. Right. Personal life, that's up to you. But if you're going to index one, I would say now's the time to take risks in your professional life, because there's so much change.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I think that's great advice for anyone out there, let alone people who are just entering this kind of profession. It's an absolute pleasure talking to you. I hope this is not the last we get to speak with you. Lucia Rahilly, you're part of this SenseMaker series as one of the real content leaders. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
This was the Collective Content Podcast SenseMaker Sessions. Let us know what you'd like us to make sense of next.